Today, we're diving into something that's absolutely critical to the safety of every single medicine out there: data integrity. It might sound a bit technical, but trust me, it's the invisible backbone that protects all of us. So let's get into what that really means.
I mean, it's the first question we all have, right? When you take a pill, you just assume the answer is yes. But what is that safety actually built on? How do we really know?
And there it is. The safety of your medicine isn't just about the chemical formula. It's built on a massive foundation of data, information that has to be trustworthy, recorded at every single step of the journey, from the lab bench all the way to the pharmacy shelf.
So before we go any further, we really have to nail down this core idea. What in the world are we even talking about when we say data integrity?
In the pharma world, this is everything. It's the promise that all the information being recorded, whether it's about manufacturing, testing, or even cleaning, is totally complete, 100% correct, and completely reliable. This isn't just paperwork. It's the foundation for every decision that gets made.
And this is where it gets really, really serious. A company's quality management system, or QMS, is like its brain. It controls everything. And if the data feeding that brain is bad, the whole system is basically a house of cards. Every decision becomes a gamble.
So, how do we make sure this data is trustworthy? Thankfully, it's not just a guessing game. Regulators have a really clear framework they use, and it's called ALCOA+.
This simple acronym is pretty much the gold standard for good data. Let's walk through what each of these letters actually stands for.
First up, A is for attributable. All this means is you have to know who recorded the data and when they did it. It's all about accountability. No anonymous entries allowed.
Next, L for legible. This one sounds obvious, right? But it's so important. If you can't read the handwriting or the digital file is corrupted, that data is totally useless. It has to be crystal clear.
Then we have C for contemporaneous. This is a big one. It means you record the information right when it happens, not at the end of your shift, and definitely not the next day. This stops people from trying to fill in the blanks from memory, which is a recipe for disaster.
O stands for original. The data has to be the first-hand source, the place where it was first written down or generated. You always want to work from this source of truth, not a copy of a copy of a copy. And the final A is for accurate. The data has to reflect what actually happened. No rounding, no estimating, just the precise, correct facts. The entire quality system depends on this. But, times change. The industry realized that those 5 principles weren't quite enough for the modern world. So, the standard evolved into what we now call ALCOA+. The plus adds 4 more layers. The data has to be complete, meaning nothing is missing. It needs to be consistent, so it makes sense over time. It has to be enduring, which means it's stored safely for years. And finally, it has to be available whenever an auditor or reviewer needs to see it.
Okay, so that's the ideal. That's the rule book. But what actually happens in the real world? Well, let's look at some of the most common mistakes that pop up again and again.
Yep, the reality can be pretty messy. Auditors are constantly finding things like backdated records, people scribbling notes on unofficial scraps of paper, or just missing data. And one of the biggest red flags? A whole team of people sharing a single password. How can you possibly know who did what? These aren't just tiny slip-ups, they are major failures.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. We tend to think of data issues as a tech problem, right? Like a glitch in the software. But it's not. At its very core, data integrity is a human issue. It all comes down to people's habits and their honesty.
Which brings us to the most important part of this whole conversation, the fix. If the problem is human, then the solution has to be human too. It's all about building a real culture of integrity. And that change has to start at the absolute top. Leadership has to create an environment where telling the truth and doing things the right way is more important than anything else. That means making it safe for people to report mistakes without fear, so problems can be fixed instead of being swept under the rug.
When you look at it this way, the stakes couldn't be clearer. When data integrity is strong, the whole quality management system works. Patients are safe, the company is protected. But when it fails, the system's credibility is shot, regulators lose trust, and you start making terrible decisions that can put people's health at risk.
So, I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. If the very foundation, the data itself, is shaky, can you ever really trust the system built on top of it? And more importantly, can you really trust the medicine that system produces?